Welcome to the Big Success Show. Today, 7 ways to improve your financial health. Brought to you by financialfreedomtool.com.
Tips to be your best with the professor and Mary-Lynn for your big success.
How to improve your financial health. You know, it's so interesting, Mary-Lynn. I don't know if it's interesting. It's almost scary. It's disheartening. When you read the headlines, pick a day, read the headlines about money, and oh my gosh, everything is so negative.
It's about how we're failing. Americans not saving enough for retirement, don't have enough for retirement. Millennials are going broke.
Yes.
Nobody's got an emergency fund. It's just all about how terrible we are with managing our money.
Women are living too long. They're gonna outlive their retirement money, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're not paying enough for our kids' college education. It goes on and on and on. Hi, I'm George Kruger, aka the Professor.
And I'm Mary-Lynn. And yes, the headlines are stressful. So how do we get past that stress and have a healthy relationship with money? Today, we're going to share 7 ways to improve your financial health. Number 1, set aside a portion of everything you make.
And you know, sometimes I have to admit, I discount this. And the reality, though, is sometimes people haven't heard it, or we've heard it, but we haven't fully digested it. This is so important to set aside a portion of everything you make. If you make $1,000, set aside $200. If you can't do that, set aside $100. Even if all you can set aside is $10, $1, something. The key thing here is not the amount of money you're setting aside. It may seem minuscule, but the key here, the critical factor here is establishing the habit of saving money, because the habit of saving money lays the foundation for your entire financial future. We can't overestimate or over-exaggerate how important this simple concept is. Set aside a portion of every single thing you make.
And how does that relieve stress? Well, you know that you're working towards it.
Absolutely.
You know that you're doing something to help yourself have a nest egg. So that helps. Number 2, the second way to improve your financial health is when you get a bump in pay, bank at least half of it.
Yeah, and I mean,
wait, don't just spend it all.
No.
Which we've talked on this show many times about the problem with getting a pay raise. And in fact, we link to that show in the show notes for this episode. But yeah, if you don't calculate correctly, you're going to put yourself in the red when you got this pay raise, and you should be getting ahead.
Yeah, and the reason is because we spend the money. We tend to spend our raises. We're saying do the opposite. And that little shift, I mean, you think about it. You've been getting by. Maybe you're not getting by, in a flush way. Maybe you're not quite getting by. But the point is, you get a raise, take a portion of that money and set it aside for your future. This is found money. Mm-hmm. You're already used to living without it, so live without it. Just that simple.
Okay, number 3. The third way to improve your financial health is to institute a 24-hour rule for major purchases. Yes, it's easy to want something and to see something, and maybe there's a great deal on it, and you want to go ahead and take advantage of that offer, but think on it, sleep on it. Just make sure that in the long run, this purchase is going to be in line with your financial goals. And
the key thing here is we get this idea from the franchise world. I bought a couple franchises in my life, and one of the things that they insist on, that the law insists on, the regulations say, is that a franchise company has to send you certain pieces of information, and that for 72 hours after you receive that information, you can't make a purchase. And we're saying, okay, don't wait 72 hours, 3 days. Just wait one day. Just one day. When you're getting ready to make a major purchase, step away from the emotion of the showroom, that big, beautiful TV sitting in front of you. I mean, step away from all of that. Get away from your emotions and think about how it logically relates to the rest of your finances.
And let me get away from just the TV.
Yes.
And share an instant, a situation that you and I had once.
Right.
In fact, we did a show, I think it was something about the
snake oil salesman or something?
Yeah, snake oil salesman. And so this was back when George and I were first starting our company, and there was an opportunity for us to take some kind of an online class.
Yeah.
Right. And
coaching, I think.
Yes. And the representative from the company was telling us how we would get to work with these, top dollar people who are really good at what they do and very successful. And that all we needed to do was pay $10,000. Seriously, I know you're probably like, whoa, but hey, this is high scale.
Yeah.
And I mean, we have taken programs that are expensive. We have programs ourselves that are of that high price.
That are high value.
Yeah. But these guys wanted us to spend $10,000 right now.
Yeah.
And so
Good only today.
Oh, yeah.
Offers good only today.
And I remember saying, okay, well, could you tell us who it is we would be working with? Mm-hmm. And the guy wouldn't tell us.
Right.
Well, we can't tell you that. Well, how you want me to? You want me to drop 10 grand right now, and you won't tell me who it is that I'm going to work with, so I can just hop online and make sure that they are successful?
Yeah.
He absolutely would not do it, and so I mean, we walked away. We weren't going to do it anyway. I would never drop that kind of money without thinking about it. Right?
Absolutely.
Sometimes people try to pressure you into spending the money, whether it's a car, whether it's a TV, whether it's a class, whether it's coaching. And you really do need to stop and think and give yourself that 24-hour time frame to make sure that you're making the decision for you and not for somebody else.
And the key thing I think to understand here is there's certainly a space for emotion in our financial life, mainly in terms of our goal setting and that sort of thing. Emotion is very important. Our why, our reason for doing it. That's very important to have emotions tied to it. But boy, when you're making a financial decision, you really have to let logic drive that decision. Because otherwise, these marketers are fantastic.
They're trying to play off of your emotion.
You better believe it. And so you have to be aware of that and realize that the best decision for you is going to be made logically.
Moving on to number 4, the fourth way to improve your financial health is don't just save, invest. So wait, we can't just stuff the money under the mattress?
Well, the problem is if you do, that money depreciates in value over time because of inflation. Well, the thing is, what you got to do is you got to take your savings and then put it to work. You're going to rely on the power of compounding. And the thing is, the way compounding works in a very simple definition is your money makes money, and then all that money makes even more money, and all of that money makes even more money. And you can see you're just building a mass that's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And at the point at which you've got all the money you feel like you need for the rest of your life, you stop. You start spending it and enjoying it. Life is your oyster.
And if investing intimidates you, I highly recommend that you tune into our podcast episode with Erin Lowry, the Broke Millennial. Yeah. She has a new book that's all about investing. We link to it in the show notes with this episode. A fantastic interview and a great book to help remove that intimidation. Number 5, don't think available credit is cash in the bank.
I made this point. And the reason is because I had a former employee who said that he once thought, before he learned more about money, he once thought that as long as he had checks, he had money. Well, that's not the case, right? I mean, if you remember checks, as long as I have a check, I can have money, right?
What?
Well, the check can bounce if you don't have money. And the same thing is true. I think a lot of people look at the available balance on the credit card as if it were cash in the bank. And I think it's really important because that's an easy trap to fall into. So how do you get rid of that? Well, understand this. Here's the difference between cash in the bank and available credit on your credit card. Cash in the bank, if you use that to buy something, you spend it, it's done, it's over. It may be a bad decision, but that's it. Your punishment for it, the consequences of it are over, except for, if you don't have money to do other things, then you're going to feel it. But the point is, you don't owe anymore. If you use the available balance on your credit card, that due amount doesn't come due for like another 30 days. And then if you don't pay it, it's going to come due with interest. So you're going to be paying for this thing for at least the next month, if not 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. And what we see a lot of times is we end up paying for 5 years on credit card debt because that's how the credit card debt system works. It works to keep them making money. So always understand that cash in the bank is far different than available credit on a credit card
Today on the Big Success Show, we're sharing 7 ways to improve your financial health, and we're up to number 6. Don't compare your life to others. So don't compare yourself to the Joneses. Don't compare yourself to the Instagram folks. Don't compare yourself to your Facebook friends who are on vacation. It almost seems like every other week. Just don't do it.
Yes, and what we're doing here is we're creating an idealized life, right? It's not just the Joneses. It's our idealized view of the Joneses, or our view of the perfect life as shown through the lenses of our friends on Facebook or followers on Instagram. And as you said, Mary-Lynn, they're taking the perfect vacation photos, the perfect dinner out, the perfect new clothes, the perfect new car, the perfect new home. And we think that this is all representative of their life. But the thing is, I just named 10 different friends. Right? One of them has the new home. One of them has the new car. One of them's on the dream vacation. Well, okay, this may be the only time in their entire life they take a vacation like this. But we, in our mind, translate it into, oh my gosh, they're taking a vacation every other week. My gosh, look at the car they have. And we accumulate, we aggregate all of these picturesque views of our friends' finances. And now we use that to kind of beat ourselves up. But here's my question to you. Have you ever seen any of them post a photo of themselves paying the bill for that dream vacation, or making the car payment for that dream car, or paying the mortgage of that home? We don't tend to see that part. So don't make bad financial decisions based on what you see in perfect pictures.
And we're not making assumptions that just because they are posting pictures of the perfect vacation, the perfect car, that their finances behind all of that is a mess. There are people who can't afford all of that, and they are just celebrating their success by posting those photos.
And this next point really helps put all of this in perspective.
Number 7 is keep the proper perspective about money.
You may not be wealthy in the traditional sense of the word.
Or you may be wealthy, but you're just not as wealthy as the person who's posting the new car. But you have wealth in the sense that you have a roof over your head and that you have entertainment in your home. You can turn on your computer and and there's the internet. You know what I mean? That's wealthy.
Yeah, and so take time each day to focus on the good things you have. We tend to really get sucked in by all the good things, the cool things, right?
Well, and lament about what we don't have.
Exactly. So take time each day to focus on the good things that you do have rather than dwelling on what you don't have. And believe it or not, that leads to big success.
And that brings us to today's big takeaway.
Good financial health results from good financial habits.
And as we started talking about ways to improve your financial health today, number 1 was to set aside a portion of everything you make. And George, you made this awesome point that, if it can be $200, great. If it can be $100, great. If it can only be $10, great. At least it's something.
That's right. And we have a tool called the Financial Freedom Tool that actually helps you find that $200, that $100, that $10. It will help you pinpoint opportunities to save more. Learn more at financialfreedomtool.com.
Thanks so much for listening today. And until next time,
here's to your big success.
Tips to be your best with the Professor and Mary-Lynn for your big success.
Find big success at biggsuccess.com.